Take a slow breath before you keep reading this, because what is being shared here is not something easy or light. It did not reach you without real effort and difficulty. This message traveled through long periods of silence and emotional distance, along with hidden pain that stayed locked away for quite some time before finally arriving at this very moment. What it carries feels more important now than it ever did in the past. Stay fully present with these words, because they touch something that runs very deep inside. There is a person in your life who has been keeping something locked away inside their heart for much longer than they would ever want to admit. This has gone on far longer than you probably ever suspected or guessed. They did not just wake up one morning and suddenly find that their feelings had grown cold. They did not truly move on in the way their actions seemed to show on the surface. What really happened was much quieter and more gradual than any of that outward behavior suggested to others. If you want the full, urgent message from your person, hit like right now so this reaches more hearts. They pushed their true feelings down deep because they simply did not know what else to do with those emotions at the time. They covered them over carefully and kept everything hidden from view. They told themselves that staying silent would be the easier and simpler path to follow. But feelings that get buried deep inside do not disappear or fade away completely. They stay there in the darkness and become heavier with every passing day and week. They wait quietly, and then one day, all of that built-up weight suddenly rises up at once, without warning. And that is exactly where this message comes from right now. It does not come from a place of courage or inner peace or strong confidence. Instead, it comes from fear and panic, and the painful moment when a person realizes they may have let too much time slip away without acting. Something shifted inside them very recently in a noticeable way. Perhaps they came across something that reminded them strongly of your presence or trace. Perhaps they heard your name mentioned somewhere unexpectedly. Perhaps life grew quiet enough around them that the real truth finally became louder than all the things they had used to push it down and drown it out before. Whatever triggered it, the experience shook them out of the safe place where they had been hiding for so long. One clear thought landed on them with full force and weight. They may lose you in a permanent way that cannot be fixed later. This thought did not arrive in a gentle or soft manner at all. It did not appear during a busy afternoon where it could be easily pushed aside without much struggle. It arrived late at night, when everything felt heavy and still. It came during moments when their phone felt empty and completely silent around them. Other people's company started to feel hollow and forced instead of real. When the noise of daily life finally went still, the quiet began to ask difficult questions they could no longer avoid. They had no way left to sidestep the truth anymore. That is when it became impossible for them to look away from what they had been ignoring. Nobody else carries what you carry in your heart. Nobody else listens in the same patient way that you always listened to them before. Nobody else understood them without needing them to explain every single detail every time. Nobody else offered comfort without making them feel held too tightly or controlled. The moment that truth became clear and visible to them, the urgency started to build strongly. But take careful note of this part, because it truly matters a lot. This urgency is not made entirely of pure love alone. It is also built from deep fear of losing something valuable. Once it is truly gone, that special connection cannot be recovered or replaced with anything similar. If they could speak to you right now without pride blocking the way and without excuses building walls between their real self and their true words, they would say something plain and honest. They should have done much more and done it far sooner than they actually did. They believed they had more time available to them than they really possessed in truth. They thought your care and patience would simply stay in place no matter how long their silence stretched on endlessly. They did not fully understand that silence holds real power to wound someone deeply over time. They are starting to see clearly now that choosing to do nothing still counts as a real choice with consequences. That choice carried a heavy cost when it affected the closeness that once existed between both of you. They carry guilt for not being present when their presence was exactly what the moment needed most from them. They carry guilt for staying quiet when honest words were truly required to help things. They carry guilt for not finding the courage to be open when honesty was the only thing that could have made any difference at all. At that earlier time, putting distance between themselves and the situation felt safer and easier to manage. Silence seemed more manageable than facing everything directly. Avoiding the truth felt like a form of control they could keep, but avoiding difficult things never actually protects anyone from the pain they bring. It only postpones the damage and lets it gather even more force later on. Type urgent in the comments if you're feeling this message is meant for you. This person does not struggle with feelings because they feel too little inside. They struggle because they feel far more than they know how to hold or manage well within themselves. Opening up honestly to you would have meant accepting real risk and uncertainty. It meant they could possibly be turned away or rejected. It meant they might lose their emotional footing completely. It meant facing parts of themselves they were not yet prepared to look at closely. Someone once said that until the hidden patterns you carry in the dark are brought into the light, they will keep running your life from the shadows. You will simply call what happens fate or bad luck. That is exactly what happened in this situation between you. Instead of following what their heart was truly telling them, they let fear make every important decision. They allowed pride to do most of the speaking for them instead of real emotions. They allowed silence to speak even louder than pride ever could. Now those old choices have grown into consequences that they can no longer simply ignore or look past anymore. There is another deeper layer to all of this that sits even heavier on their mind and heart. They can sense that you are no longer the same person you were before in their eyes. Something in your energy has clearly shifted and changed direction. The way you respond now feels different from before. Even your quiet presence carries a new quality that was not there earlier. You may still hold some feelings for them, but you are no longer chasing after answers or clarity. You are no longer repeating yourself in hopes that something will finally change for the better. You are no longer standing in that painful, uncertain place where nothing felt clear and everything hurt deeply inside. That change unsettles them in ways they did not expect at all. The reason it unsettles them so deeply is that they leaned on your patience far more than was truly fair or right. They leaned on your gentleness and softness while keeping their own heart carefully guarded and closed off. Somewhere deep beneath everything, they simply assumed you would always be there, waiting and understanding. They never really considered that you would reach a point where you quietly chose to put yourself first for a change. But you did reach that point, and they can feel the difference now. That quiet internal shift you made speaks louder to them than any heated argument ever could have in the past. Keep listening closely, because this is where the truth becomes sharper and clearer. What they fear losing is not only you as a person in their life. They fear losing the special feeling of being truly seen without harsh judgment for what is seen. They fear losing the emotional safety they never fully admitted they were depending upon so much. They fear losing that rare space where they could feel understood without being pushed past their personal limits too quickly. Only now are they beginning to understand that not every bond can be rebuilt once it has been allowed to break apart. Not every connection can simply be found again in someone new who comes along later. That understanding follows them everywhere they go these days. It surfaces during quiet moments when they have nothing left to keep it buried down. It rises up when they try to move forward but cannot seem to find solid emotional ground underneath. It returns every time they compare another person to you and immediately feel the clear difference in a way they cannot easily reason away or ignore. This is why the sense of urgency inside them keeps growing stronger and pressing harder each day. It has nothing to do with trying to control you or the situation again. It is about realizing that time is no longer something they have in great abundance anymore. They can feel a door beginning to move slowly toward closing, not with loud drama or anger attached to it, and not with some final declaration either. It is happening quietly and gradually in the background. That kind of soft closing is the most serious kind, because when a door closes gently within someone's heart, it does not tend to open easily again. Comment heart if you have someone who's been hiding their true feelings from you. They want to reach out toward you now. They want to find a good way to explain themselves fully. They want to offer an apology that actually carries real meaning and does not just sound defensive or empty. But fear keeps stopping every attempt they make before it can begin. Fear asks whether it is already too late for any of this to matter. Fear whispers that perhaps you no longer care in the same way you once did before everything changed. Fear tells them that if they finally show their real self, they may face rejection that hurts deeply. So they hesitate and hold back their words carefully. They compose messages in their mind and then erase them completely before sending. They play out full conversations inside their head that never actually happen in real life. They go through every possible outcome they can imagine and still stay exactly where they were before. While they continue to delay, the pressure building inside them keeps growing without any release or relief. This is not a promise that everything between you will reach a happy resolution soon. It is not a comfortable story or any kind of guarantee for the future. It is something closer to an honest confession offered from a distance across time and space. They are not claiming that all the harm has been fully repaired already. Type yes if you want me to reveal what your person is really struggling with right now. They are not pretending they have suddenly found every answer they were missing earlier. What they are finally acknowledging, even if only inside their own private thoughts, is that treating you as though you would always be there waiting was truly wrong. They did not understand your real value until they felt the emptiness that opened up in the space where you used to be. When truth arrives this late, it carries extra pain along with it because it arrives together with the feeling of having lost hold of something that mattered very much. But what this means for you matters more than what it means for them right now. Listen carefully to this important part. This is not encouraging you to stand still and wait around patiently. It is not asking you to offer forgiveness before you feel truly ready inside. It is not pushing you back into the same pain you already lived through once. It is only making visible the truth they failed to show through their earlier behavior and actions. You mattered to them far more than they ever found a way to express openly. Your absence in their life feels louder now than your presence ever seemed when you were fully there with them. What existed between you was genuine, even though it was handled very poorly by them at the time. The real power in this situation belongs completely to whatever choice you decide to make next. Genuine power does not rush forward simply because someone else has been caught by sudden panic. The presence of strong desperation does not always mean true readiness for change. A person can feel desperate emotions and still not be in a place where they can love someone with the steady care that is truly needed. Right now, this person is sitting with the honest results of who they chose to be when it really counted most. Results have a way of being very honest things that cut through everything. They strip away the comfortable stories we like to tell ourselves. They remove the excuses we often lean on too heavily. They show, without any sentiment, exactly what silence ended up costing everyone involved. They are going back through old moments now that they once thought were too small to matter at all. They look at those moments now through the clear lens of loss instead of the comfort of old pride. They remember the small and steady things you did naturally. They remember how you checked on them without needing any special reason to do so. They remember how you could read their mood even before a single word was spoken out loud. They remember how you held yourself together even when they pulled away suddenly. They remember how you always moved toward understanding rather than quick blame or anger. These memories press on them now because they reveal something genuinely painful to sit with for long. You met them at a depth they had not yet reached inside themselves at that time. They pulled away from real emotional growth and responsibility that comes with a meaningful bond between people. For a long time, they lived as if distance was a safe shelter, but now that same distance feels more like uncomfortable exposure than protection. They feel seen by you, even through the current silence between you. Your silence has changed in its quality and depth. Where it once felt like a short pause, it now feels like real distance growing. Where it once seemed temporary, it now feels like something that could continue without any clear end. That difference presses against them in a way they cannot easily ignore anymore. They can sense that you are no longer building your emotional world around their confusion or mixed signals. You are no longer waiting for them to catch up to where you have already been standing strong. This stirs an even deeper fear inside them. Not only the fear that you might say no if they reach out, but also the fear that they may no longer hold the same important place in your life. They worry that you may have quietly closed the chapter without any drama or final confrontation. That kind of calm from someone who used to be consistently available feels frightening to a person who depended on that availability without earning it properly. They are also reaching another important understanding now. You never asked them to be completely without flaws or mistakes. You only asked them to actually show up when it mattered. Share this video if you've been sensing a shift in someone's energy lately. You never required constant intensity from them. You wanted steady consistency instead. You were not asking them to completely reshape their core self. You were asking them to live according to the person they claimed to be. Now they see with uncomfortable clarity how many times they reached for comfort when courage was truly needed in the moment. They told themselves over and over that they were not ready yet. They created many reasons for the silence and justifications for the distance. They made explanations for why the present moment was never quite right. But readiness is not something that appears on its own. When life becomes convenient, it is a clear decision that must be made actively. When you were offering love and honesty and full presence, they chose not to meet you there fully. That realization hurts them now because the opportunity no longer feels the same. They can feel the change in you clearly. It shows in your tone of voice and the pace of your responses. It appears in the fact that you no longer work hard to justify your own worth to them. It lives in the quiet confidence that has settled where all the reaching used to happen before. That shift changes the entire landscape around the situation. They believed they had unlimited time because you were gentle with them always. They confused your patience with permanent availability. They saw your care as a promise of endless waiting on their schedule. They forgot that patience has natural limits and self-respect eventually rises up no matter how long it was set aside. Now they are caught inside a difficult internal struggle. They want to reach toward you, but they do not want to start something they might not sustain well. They want to offer a real apology, but fear making promises they are not sure they can keep consistently. They want the closeness back, but worry about the steady effort needed to hold it with proper care. So, they remain suspended between wanting and avoiding, between the pull toward you and the old habit of staying away. That is why their energy feels mixed and uneven and restless these days. Their heart points in one direction while their actions still show something different. They imagine being brave enough to take the step forward. They imagine finding exactly the right words to say. They imagine showing up as a better version of themselves. But imagining remains easy while living it demands something real and lasting. It asks for actual change shown through repeated actions over time. This is exactly where fear tightens its hold most strongly, because deep down they understand that words alone will no longer be enough to fix things. You are no longer waiting to be moved by what someone simply says. You are watching for what is real and sustained through consistent behavior. This does not mean your care has completely disappeared. It means you grew stronger in a quiet and steady way. You sat with your sadness without running away from it. You faced the disappointment with honesty. You let the truth become clear instead of turning away from it any longer. They are only beginning that same process now, and the timing matters a great deal. Growing through loss feels very different from growing while love stays safely within reach. They understand this even if they cannot say it fully out loud. They know that even if they speak now, what once existed cannot simply return to its old form. That knowledge frightens them because what they miss most is the version of you that trusted without holding back. Trust does not reset easily just because someone finds the right words finally.